used their ability to go back and to review it, but these are things that we can't miss in real time. We've got to be better. I think I'm pretty.
Obviously, the offensive rebounding that we gave up tonight really hurt us, and that starts with me. I think my player got at least 4 tonight, so I got to be better in that area.
Caitlin Clark was one technical foul away from an automatic suspension, and then the WNBA suddenly reversed the decision. What happened in Chicago has created another major conversation around officiating, player emotions, and the league's technical foul rules. On August 8th, the Indiana Fever faced the Chicago Sky in a game that already had plenty of drama, but the biggest controversy came in the third quarter when Clark was involved in a play near the sideline. After contact from Chicago's Natasha Cloud, Clark's momentum carried her toward the boundary, and she made contact with an official. The referee assessed Clark a technical foul, and because it was her 8th technical of the season, the consequences were much bigger than a normal technical. Under the league's rules, reaching that threshold can result in an automatic 1-game suspension and a $1,500 fine. Suddenly, a moment that lasted only a few seconds had the potential to keep one of the Fever's most important players out of their next game. Clark knew exactly what was at stake, and after the game she remained remarkably calm when asked about the incident. Rather than launching into a long criticism of the officials, she explained that she had already watched the replay and believed the contact was not intentional. Her message was essentially simple: let the league review the footage and make the final decision. That review became the key part of the story. The WNBA ultimately rescinded the technical foul, meaning Clark's total returned to 7, and the automatic suspension and $1,500 fine disappeared. For Indiana, that was obviously important because Clark remained available for the team's upcoming games. But why did this particular call generate so much discussion? The answer starts with the number 8. A technical foul in professional basketball is already significant, but when a player is approaching the suspension threshold, every additional technical carries much greater consequences. Clark had already reached 7 technicals, meaning another one could potentially remove her from a game. That made the Chicago incident different from an ordinary argument with an official. The decision could directly affect the Fever's lineup and their ability to compete. And that's why the league's review mattered so much. In live basketball, referees have to make decisions instantly. Players are moving quickly, defenders are making contact, coaches are shouting, and officials have only a fraction of a second to determine whether an action was intentional, accidental, or simply part of the normal physicality of the game. Replay review provides something the official doesn't have in real time: another look. It allows the league to slow the action down, examine different camera angles, and determine whether the original call should stand. In Clark's case, the review resulted in the technical being rescinded. That decision immediately changed the story. Instead of preparing to miss a game, Clark could continue playing. Instead of paying the $1,500 fine, she avoided the punishment altogether. And instead of carrying 8 technical fouls, she returned to 7. But the controversy didn't disappear. If anything, the reversal created another question: how consistently are technical fouls being reviewed across the WNBA? That's an important question not only for Caitlin Clark, but for every player in the league. Superstar or role player, rookie or veteran, everyone should ultimately be judged by the same standards. Clark's enormous popularity means that every incident involving her receives more attention than many similar plays involving other players. That's simply part of being one of the biggest names in women's basketball. A routine foul involving an unknown player might receive a few hundred views online, while a controversial Clark call can become a major social media discussion within minutes. That doesn't automatically mean the league treats her differently. It does, however, mean every decision involving her is going to receive intense public scrutiny. And that's exactly why transparency is important. When a call is reversed, fans naturally want to know why. When a call is upheld, they want to understand that too. Clear explanations can prevent speculation from becoming the story. The Chicago incident also needs to be viewed in the context of Clark's season. She has consistently played with a high level of emotion and competitiveness. That intensity is part of her identity as a player, but it can also put her closer to the technical foul line. After receiving her 7th technical earlier in the season, Clark explained that she wasn't going to completely change the competitive fire that makes her who she is. At the same time, She acknowledged that she needed to control her emotions and remain focused on helping her teammates. That's an important balance for any professional athlete. You don't want to remove the passion that makes a player great, but you also don't want emotions to become costly distractions. For Clark, the challenge is even greater because she knows millions of people are watching. Every reaction can become a headline. Every conversation with a referee can become a viral clip. Every technical foul can lead to another debate. And yet, the best response may be exactly what Clark did after this game. Allow the review process to work and move forward. The Fever also had a lot to celebrate because Clark's individual performance helped Indiana secure the victory. She finished the game with 26 points and 11 assists, giving her team a major contribution on both ends of the offensive attack. Instead of leaving Chicago focused entirely on a controversial whistle, Indiana left with a win and Clark's suspension threat eventually removed. That's the ideal outcome for the Fever. But the larger lesson for the WNBA is about consistency. Technical fouls are supposed to maintain control and protect the integrity of the game. They aren't supposed to become the main story. When a technical is issued, players need to understand the standard. When one is rescinded, the league needs to explain why. And when a player reaches the suspension threshold, the process needs to be fair regardless of who that player is. The WNBA is growing rapidly, and with that growth comes more attention, more television coverage, more social media discussion, and more scrutiny of every decision. Caitlin Clark is obviously a major part of that attention, but the league's officiating standards ultimately need to apply across the entire competition. That's why this story matters beyond one player. It's not simply Caitlin Clark versus a referee. It's about how professional basketball handles difficult calls when the consequences are significant. The referee had to make a decision in real time. The Fever had the opportunity to challenge it. The league reviewed the footage, and the final decision was to rescind the technical. That is the process working as it was designed to work. Whether every fan agrees with the decision is another question, but the important thing is that the original call wasn't necessarily the final word. And now Clark moves forward with 7 technical fouls instead of 8. That means the suspension threat hasn't completely disappeared. The next technical could still become extremely important. So every time Clark gets into an emotional exchange with an opponent or official, fans will be watching closely. Will she change her style? Probably not. Clark's competitive personality is one of the reasons people tune in. But she may have to find a way to maintain that fire without giving officials a reason to add another technical to her total. That's the challenge ahead. For Indiana, having Clark available is obviously valuable. For the WNBA, the incident is another reminder of how much attention surrounds its biggest stars. And for fans, it becomes another debate. Was the original technical a mistake? Was the reversal the correct decision? And should the league provide more detailed explanations when controversial calls are overturned? Those are questions worth discussing without turning the story into something it isn't. The facts are straightforward. Clark was assessed her 8th technical in Chicago. The call potentially carried a suspension and fine. The league reviewed the play, and the technical was rescinded. Everything beyond those facts should be treated as analysis rather than proven motive. And that's an important distinction for anyone covering the WNBA. There is a difference between asking questions and claiming answers without evidence. Hoop Queen's WNBA is going to focus on giving you the story, the context, and the debate without losing sight of what is actually confirmed. Because the WNBA doesn't need exaggerated controversies to be interesting. The basketball itself is already compelling. Caitlin Clark's rise, Indiana's playoff ambitions, the league's growing audience, and the incredible competition across the WNBA provide more than enough stories. So now, after all the controversy, Clark's focus can return to the court. No suspension, no $1,500 fine, 7 technical fouls instead of 8. And another reminder that in professional basketball, sometimes the first decision isn't the final decision. The question now is what happens next. Will Clark stay below the suspension threshold? Will Indiana continue climbing the standings? And will the next controversial officiating decision be handled just as quickly? Those answers are still ahead. But one thing is certain. Whenever Caitlin Clark steps onto a WNBA court, people are going to watch every possession, every shot, every reaction, and every whistle. So what do you think? Was the original technical foul deserved, or did the WNBA make the right decision by rescinding it? Let us know your opinion in the comments. And if you want more Caitlin Clark news, Indiana Fever stories, WNBA analysis, player controversies, and the biggest moments from women's basketball, subscribe to Hoop Queen's WNBA. The season is moving fast, the stakes are getting higher, and the next chapter is already waiting.